Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Up and running. Yeah, the floor is yours. You have 15 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, yeah, my topic is about a cross-lingual extraction of a stylistic device, which is called Vossian Antonomasia. I did this work with my colleagues Robert Jäschke and Frank Fischer, who are also at Humboldt University or the Freie University, the Free University of Berlin. Our data and code is available, freely available. See below the link. And I will start now. First, I give you a bit of definition what Vossian Antonomasia is, because probably nobody of you have heard of it before. I will point out some motivation and difficulties, what it is about, and then show you the data that we constructed and the methods we used and some evaluation and analysis. First, let's start about the definition. It's a trope that is closely related to metaphor or metonymy. In general, it is about attributing a particular property or characteristic to one entity by naming another one, a normally more famous entity that is well known for the respective property. So for example, if we ask who's the Michael Jordan of soccer or football, one could argue now that it's the older ones would probably say Maradona or Pelé, the younger ones would say Ronaldo or Messi, and the really young ones would maybe say Mbappé now. Yeah, but this is what my stylistic device is about. You shift the attributes of Michael Jordan to another region, which is the modifier, which is being the most successful or most winning player in basketball, Michael Jordan, and shift it to football, and then you describe another entity with it. Here are some examples from newspaper articles. For example, the Steve Jobs of beer, which was a American entrepreneur in the beer factory, Jim Koch. Or also the Michelangelo of Microsoft Excel. He painted drawings with Microsoft Excel, and he was a Japanese computer scientist. Okay, why is it difficult? Well, first, for humans to understand it, it requires deep cultural background knowledge. Because you have to know the entity that is used to describe the other ones. For example, if you don't know Dolly Parton, it's hard to get the meaning of it. The same with if you don't know Donald Trump, you wouldn't know what the Donald Trump of the horse show world could be. This is not completely required for the automatic extraction, but for humans to understand what it is about. For the automated extraction, it's the syntactic ambiguity is the real struggle, because we have on the left side some phrases of Vossian Antonomasia. On the right side, there's just some literal phrases, and from the syntax, they are really close, or they are even they have the same syntax, but on the left side they are Vossian antonomasias, and on the right side they are just literal phrases. For example, the Nobel of Mathematics, there is no Nobel of Mathematics, but could be another mathematics prize award, and the Nobel of Physics is just the Nobel Prize of Physics, so it's meant literal. Why are we doing this? Well, it helps to improve other NLP tasks, such as fact extraction. It can lead to better entity disambiguation or co-reference resolution, because you don't want the source entity to be an own entity chain, but to have the whole phrase, for example, the Michael Jordan of soccer, referring to another entity. Another goal is creative natural language generation. So you can, especially in news or blog article headlines, it would be really great to have a support for that. Okay, but now what I did, first about the data we had, that's one of the big struggles. We already did some Vossian Antonomasia extraction on English data because we had it available. We collected it. Here is from 2019 and 2022. In total, we got like around 6,000 samples, which include 3,000 of them included a Vossian Antonomasia and 2,900 did not. In another approach, we just added 50,000 random samples to the data set to get a better fraction, because of course, the stylistic device is highly imbalanced in newspaper text. It will appear like maybe in 1% of all sentences, more or less. Until now, there was no other data set in different language of the device. So we researched for it and found 2 German Vossian Antonomasia data sets. Actually, they were from my colleagues, Frank Fischer and Robert Jäschke. One was manually created a few years ago that we could use, and the other one was from a paper that you can see, Jäschke 2017, at the German Digital Humanities Conference. So we got at least around 600 Vossian Antonomasia sentences, but to evaluate the models, we had to find negative sentences as well, and we did some samples that created automatically some negative samples that we manually annotated to check if there's any Vossian Antonomasia in it, and found that there weren't, or we replaced them. So what we did, we had two models. The first model was trying to use machine translation and automated alignments to first translate the English sentences to German, and then use and align those German sentences, or to align the text to the German sentence. And then we feed them to a sequence tagging model. We used one time we used BERT for the English version. When we translated the German test data to English, we used just English BERT. And when we translated the training data to German, and we trained a German BERT model. The second model was, or the third model was a zero-shot scenario. So zero-shot approaches have recently shown great results in NLP tasks. So we used a big model like XLM Roberta and trained it with our English training data and tested it on our German data. So what came out here, we could see we trained it with our English data just with the 6,000 sentences, and then with the 56,000 sentences. And what we could see, that there's no real well, here's a big discrepancy, but for the other ones, there weren't. And we can see that the translation model from English to German, so we translated the English training data to German, and then trained the model, worked best, having an F1 score of 0.85, and which is quite high. Our monolingual English models, they were around 0.92, so that was a bit less, but that was expected. But what we can see in the last row is the robustness study that I'm talking now about, because until now we had 2 test data that's in German that included some Vossian Antonomasia, and then we had some negative samples that we used to evaluate them on, but we couldn't really test it on real world data without annotating large amounts of sentences, because because of the sparseness of the phenomenon in real world data. So what we did was trying to do a sample-based evaluation on real world data. And what we did was we computed a score for each predicted sentences based on their text scores, which is shown in the first equation, sigma. And then we split up the data into sentences that included a source and modifier tag, because this is necessary for having a Vossian Antonomasia, and all other sentences. So to get some results from sentences, predicted sentences that included for Vossian Antonomasia tags and without. And then we choose samples based on their confidence. So we said, okay, we choose some sentences that are where the tagger was really confident about it and also being unconfident about it. And this is computed. This was a robustness study that we did, and we can see that it did fall down, the results. That wasn't like this in the English models or in the monolingual English models in our older papers. So we can conclude that it works partly, especially on our data set, it works quite well. But if you go to real world data, it indicates it's just a robustness study and sample based. So you can't be 100% sure, but it indicates that there's still improvement to do. Okay, that now is my references, and the talk is now finished. Thank you for your attention.